Where's the cliff notes?
Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the March 16th, 2022 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. And please pause for a moment of silence. And remember, we have reached the 2-year anniversary of the COVID-19 pandemic. For tonight's moment of silence, I'd like to offer this moment to remember the 67 Franklin residents who have lost their lives due to COVID-19 and hold this evening's moment of silence in their honor. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements from the chair. All citizens are now welcome to attend public board and committee meetings in person. Additionally, in an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, you will be able to continue to participate remotely via phone or Zoom using the provided phone number, or you may click the Zoom link that is on the posted agenda and on the town's website. The phone number is 929-205-6099 and enter the meeting ID number 810-2803-0996 and hit the pound sign. The attached link and phone number will be active for the duration of the meeting for citizens to ask questions and/or voice concerns. If residents are just interested in watching the meeting, it will be live streamed on Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 11 and Verizon Channel 29. This evening, Councilor DeLorco is unable to attend and will not be remotely. Citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in the council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, is there anyone out in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? I'm not seeing anything, Alicia, are you? Yeah. Okay, moving on. We have some minutes to approve. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 2nd, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion, additions, deletions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 2nd, 2022.
So move. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Again, additions, deletions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to proclamations and recognitions. We do have a couple of promotions this evening, and I think our police chief is here this evening.
Back again, yes.
Please,
Mr.
back
Chairman.
again. We love having you come before us.
I promise that I'm not going to be back until July, but with the way things are going, I can't promise that, so. But this will be it supposedly would be the end until then. No, good night tonight. We finally, with all the turnover that we've had, we've made some final promotions and the last of the 5 hires that we needed to hire recently. And I'll be introducing all those to you tonight.
Great.
All right, so through you, Mr. Chairman, members of the
Sure.
council, administration, Connor Crossman. Sergeant Connor Crossman has been employed in law enforcement for the past 6 years. He started his career with the Hopkinton Police Department in March of 2016 as a patrol officer. He joined the Franklin Police Department when he was hired as a patrol officer in April 2018. Since joining the department, Connor has been an instrumental member of our public information team and has made numerous contributions and directed the FPD's social media outreach program. I can't say enough about how well Connor has done leading our social media outreach, where he regularly updates the public with important information both while on and off duty. He regularly participates in all the community-related events the department offers throughout the year. He has attended multiple trainings over his 4 years with the department and is currently a certified crisis intervention team member. Officer Crossman has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Westfield State University and a master's in public administration from Anna Maria College. Sergeant Crossman has been assigned to the operations division. And I take great pleasure in congratulating Sergeant Crossman on his well-deserved promotion, and I'd like to invite his wife Ashley and his son Jack to come up, do the pinning. Not this Jack.
Hi, Connor. Congratulations. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me, okay? I, Connor Crossman,
I, Connor Crossman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to faithfully execute the duties
to faithfully execute the duties
as a police sergeant
as a police sergeant
for the town of Franklin
for the town of Franklin
with respect,
with respect,
integrity,
integrity,
and excellence,
and excellence,
and to uphold the mission of the department,
and to uphold the mission of the department,
the Constitution,
the Constitution,
statutes, and regulations of the United States of America,
statutes, and regulations of the United States of America,
and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and the charter and bylaws
the charter and bylaws
of the town of Franklin.
of the town of Franklin.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Please,
Thank you, Mr.
Chief,
Chairman.
continue.
Thank you. Through you. Laura? This is Officer Laura Canavan. She's been employed in law enforcement for the past 16 years. She started her career in 2006 with the Sharon Police Department, and over the ensuing 12 years worked as a dispatcher, special police officer, and a part-time officer. In 2015, Laura attended the Plymouth Police Academy and was hired full-time with the Sharon PD. In 2016, she was assigned to the position of Crime Prevention Officer, where she excelled at creating and offering community outreach programs by providing awareness on topics of concern to the community, such as protecting yourself against identity theft, child safety, elder safety, winter weather preparedness, and many others. In February 2019, the Franklin Police Department was fortunate to hire Laura, an experienced and well-trained officer. For the past 3 years, congratulations to on your anniversary, she has worked in the operations division as a patrol officer. Since joining the FPD, Laura has hit the ground running and has been assigned to conduct domestic violence follow-up investigations and sexual assault investigations. There is not a month that goes by where I personally do not receive correspondence from someone wanting to thank Laura for the assistance she has provided. Laura has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Southern New Hampshire University. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Detective Laura Canavan and congratulate her on being assigned as a detective in the Specialized Services Division. And now I'd like to invite her husband, Trooper Nick Canavan, to do the pinning.
Congratulations. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Laura Canavan, do solemnly swear to faithfully execute the duties as a police detective for the town of Franklin with respect, integrity, and excellence, and to uphold the mission of the department, the Constitution, statutes, and regulations of the United States of America, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the Charter and bylaws of the town of Franklin, so help me God. Congratulations.
Still have the floor, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. And the next will be Officer Derek Mackey, one of the newest officers we recently hired. Derek? Derek is an April 2019 graduate of the 58th Recruit Officer class at the Western Massachusetts Police Academy. Upon graduation, he worked for the Pittsfield Police Department from October 2018 through January 2020. Derek transferred to the Blackstone Police Department in February of 2020. Derek served honorably for 6 years in the United States Marine Corps from 2010 to 2016 to include a deployment to the Republic of Georgia as part of a Foreign Security Forces advisor team from August 2015 through April 2016 and has received numerous awards. He has an associate's degree in criminal justice from Mass Bay Community College and is currently attending Southern New Hampshire University in pursuit of a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Derek currently resides in Franklin, which I know most of you appreciate. And Derek will be pinned by his fiancee Lauren and his 2-year-old daughter Jason. Yeah, that's it right up there.
So cute. Derek, raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Derek Mackey,
I, Derek Mackey,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to faithfully execute the duties
to faithfully execute the duties
as a police officer
as a police
for
officer
the town of Franklin
for the town of Franklin
with respect,
with respect,
integrity,
integrity,
and excellence.
and excellence,
And to uphold the mission
and to uphold the mission
of the department,
of the department,
the Constitution,
the Constitution,
statutes and regulations of the...
statute,
Go ahead. Statutes and regulations.
statutes and regulations
Of the United States of America.
of the United States of
And the
America
Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
And the Charter and bylaws
and the Charter and bylaws
of the town of Franklin.
of the town of Franklin.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, that'll do it for tonight. Like I said, it'll be a while, but, yeah, no, we've had some turnover and we've had some great people. And if you notice, all 3 of these individuals came to us from somewhere else. You know, we put out a posting, and, you know, basically they looked at Franklin, you know, for a number of different reasons. They chose to make a move and come to us, and we're the better for it, so, thank you.
We certainly very much appreciate you coming and doing this in front of the town council. We don't always, these are one of those feel-good things that we get to do, and I think it's important for the community, those watching, and those that are here, give them an opportunity to see what's going on, and the people that are getting promoted and the people that are getting hired. So, thank you very much for bringing them to us.
You're very welcome, thank you, sir.
We're going to take a 3-minute recess, and we'll hold it to 3 minutes. Council meeting back to order. And next order of business would be hearings. We don't have any this evening. License transactions, we don't have any scheduled. Presentations and discussions. Stormwater utility. Brutus is with us. Jamie, you want to do the lead-in?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So really quickly, I recognize that this presentation tonight is short. I believe Brutus only has 8 or 9 slides. We tried to condense this into the most synthesized version of the critical information that people need to know. Mr. Chairman, I think we've gotten to a point where we've done mailers to all residents in town numerous times. We've done public presentations. We've had a town council ad hoc committee. We've sued the EPA and actually, got some good concessions out of that. That, for people that are unfamiliar, the town of Franklin did sue the Environmental Protection Agency over this. We're just kind of at that point, I believe, where Brutus's presentation tonight focuses on the most critical information that folks need to know. So, want to take it away, Brutus?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, because we never have enough stormwater talk, do we? It's been so long.
Everything we always wanted to know about it.
Some people think it's my favorite subject, it's really not. It's been a burden.
I introduce who's with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Derek Adams. He is the Environmental Affairs and Stormwater Superintendent. We recently hired, and down in the end is Kate Schoberg. She's our GIS coordinator. Kate's been a true asset to this through the planning, because a lot of this is obviously studying all the properties in town and working with different consultants on it. So Kate and I have been working on this for like 10 years. Nine years. We really have at different levels, as the town manager brought up, regarding everything from looking at the best approach for the town to, suing EPA, which was a big thing. So just want to give you a little background, like real briefly. We've talked about this like, tongue in cheek until we're blue in the face, but just give you a view from 10,000 feet and go over, and then Derek's going to hit on some of the keyer points. But as Jamie said, we've had a lot of public outreach with this. I think, some of the councilors attended some of the hearings we had. They were, pretty well attended, and this is all, pre-pandemic type things. I think it's almost like a week before.
I think one of them was the week the pandemic,
Yeah.
the state of emergency
It was
happened.
the mon-
Like
it
right
was-
before,
That
like right
week,
before.
so,
Yes,
The Wednesday
Yeah.
of the Friday, yeah.
yes.
yeah, good news travels together. I'll leave it at that.
It's fast.
So, and obviously, I've done previous town councils, we're focusing sometime tonight on the fee associated, but through the years, we've talked about the positive things that Franklin's done with our stormwater, and we've gotten credits for over the last 15 years I've been here, and how well stormwater interacts with our drinking water program, which I think is very key. We've done utility flyers that we sent out to the different residents. Kate's put a lot of things on the board. We've done that whole impervious mapping where everybody can go online and check out their property and see how much impervious area they have. Our rain barrel program has been very, very successful. It's part of public education outreach is to show folks how important the groundwater is and stormwater to get it back into the ground. Like I said, flyers and brochures. We've been working on, you've seen some of our stormwater management plan, what we have to do. A lot of this is directed by our permit that we're required to do. And then just general stormwater information you can find on our website. There's a lot of good things on here that we've done, a lot of good things that the state done, and then the EPA's done. So at this point, I'm just going to hand it over to Derek, and he's going to go over a couple of things where we're at.
So the current standard for stormwater utility fee is based on impervious area. Impervious area being any part of a land that does not allow what we consider stormwater, which would be precipitation or snow melt, allow that to go and infiltrate into the ground. So a billable unit in Franklin is based on 1,000 square feet of impervious area. Each billable unit equals $18.66. And the way that this is designed is to involve equality, because all properties within Franklin will be part of the utility building, for example, Dean College. And it involves equity, because those who have more impervious area will incur a higher rate. And it's worth noting that the average single-family home in Franklin is 3 billable units, which would be a total of $56 per year.
The one thing I just want to add that I think is important to this when we talk about the equity factor, besides the fact that you can say the commercial properties are much bigger and they have that. We're also going to be able to reach out to Dean College, is one of our favorite, because they don't pay taxes. Okay, this is not a tax. This is a utility fee like water, sewer, or trash. So they would be subject to the billing of it. Same as the post office, and same as Mass DOT that has their facility over on 140. They all have to pay, so they're supporting this program also.
Next slide. The credit and abatement system. So these credits will be offered to all property owners for a maximum of 50% off of their stormwater utility fee, and it varies slightly between residential credits and commercial properties, and those are detailed in each of those columns there. But credits must be reapplied for to maintain their lower stormwater utility fee, and it must be renewed on a yearly basis for residential properties, and for commercial properties and large residential credits, that would be renewed every 5 years. Abatements can also be applied for if a property owner feels that their impervious area is reported incorrectly. So for example, owners with gravel driveways, in addition to that, owners with gravel driveways, pervious or porous pavement can apply for an abatement.
And just I'd like to add this is a lot of these come out of direct communication through our hearings that we held with folks and then people contacting us, particularly the gravel driveway issue that, people can go ahead and, we understand that, and the French drains and the rain valve program. So I say we, you all listen to the folks out there, and these are the things that we changed.
The Community Assistance Program, so the Stormwater Division feels it's very important to consider all things that are out there right now. And all stormwater utility fees will be waived for property owners that qualify for the Community Assistance Program. Much like the water and sewer and trash Community Assistance Program, those receive a 20% credit. The stormwater utility fee will be waived for those who apply for this program. And that is in the bylaw, which can be accessed on the link that's shared on the slide.
I think you all understand the community assistance program. We all kind of streamlined that last year, that we used the public works. So it's established criteria so that folks that are really need, once again, this came out through our hearings, that there is a way for them to get, not to pay, basically, it comes down to it.
People are having trouble hearing.
Oh, really?
Thank you.
So what does this utility get us? The Highway Division has been doing a tremendous job over the last several decades for doing these things day after day after day. But what we need to do going forward is enhance the scope of these services that have already been provided. This is going to need to increase dramatically going forward as we move into the next phase of the permit, which is coming right around the corner. So things like catch basin cleaning, street sweeping, pipe inspections, drainage flow maintenance, those are things that we already do, but we need to increase them in frequency, and we need to make sure that they are done properly and that they're documented. Additionally, we need to embark on a program that's already in place, that we're already currently doing, that needs to also be enhanced, is the identification and elimination of illicit pollution sources. So what we do in this scenario is we take an area of town, you start at the end where the outfall is, and then you work your way backwards, and you ensure that there's no illegal connections, there's no failing septic systems, a commercial property isn't illegally tied in, and if it is, we identify the source and then take steps to eliminate it. So those things are going to need to be increased in frequency, and that is something that is continuously happening. It's not that you do it once and forget about it, because this is a very dynamic situation where a septic system doesn't just fail once in one part of town. It can happen at any part of town at any time. So that's going to be conducted on a rolling basis. Additionally, the inspection, construction, and maintenance of stormwater treatment structures, known as BMPs. So our stormwater does not get treated in the chemical sense that our sewage, when it is sent to the Charles River Pollution Control District, and that's treated chemically. We don't treat our stormwater chemically. All of our stormwater eventually, at the outfalls, is discharged into the environment. So we need to do these best management practices, detention basins, storm scepters, tree wells, rain gardens, and so on and so forth, to ensure that the water that's leaving our streets, entering our catch basins, is being piped to the environment. Once it gets there, the goal is to have as much treatment as possible, not chemical treatment, but whatever treatment is appropriate for that specific location, to ensure that it's going to do everything it can do to increase the purity of the water that's going to be drawn from the ground, which is how Franklin receives all of its drinking water. Additionally, in the future, looking to enhance a leaf litter collection program. Some of this has to do with the PCP, which is reducing our phosphorus load to the Charles River watershed. Leaf litter collection is going to be one of the best ways to do that, and it's certainly in the future of the program. And the last point is increased drinking water protection. So everything we do is mindful and thoughtful of protecting the drinking water of Franklin.
That was very technical, but the bottom line is we're being directed by a permit, which is an unfunded mandate, and we have to pay. And that's what, they're telling us what we have to do, and it will increase over time. So, that's the short and skinny of it.
So the federal ARPA money, there's going to be some money coming down from the federal government that we are going to work on incorporating with our upcoming road work. So we have Arlington Street, Country Club Drive, Jordan Road, Tam O'Shanter, Burning Tree, North Park Street. Those things are coming up. So what we're going to do in an attempt to offset a lot of the stormwater costs is to incorporate the federal ARPA money with these projects to reduce the amount that's coming out of the stormwater budget directly. And to give one other point, so the MS4 permit year 5, that's going to require us to complete 5 detention basin upgrades, and the detention basins are all over town, a lot of subdivisions. They were built to capture the first inch of stormwater and treat it so that it infiltrates back into the ground. And the average cost for one of those detention basin upgrades in 2020 was $70,000. So we need to do 5 of those in year 5 of the permit, which is right around the corner. But what we're going to do is make sure that we can apply this ARPA funding as best we can to offset those stormwater drainage costs.
And that is, if you could say, is anything positive of the COVID pandemic, that these funds have come down. And they're gonna help us at the local level. And this is a, good public works project that we would have to pay for either way, but we can use funding for this. And then even, like our water road improvement program, a lot of times we improve the roads out, that there could be $100,000 to $200,000 of drainage improvements. Normally, we had to take out Chapter 90 money, that now we'll be able to use ARPA money for, so which frees up our Chapter 90 money to do other pavement work in town. So this is a kind of a really good thing that happened.
So what's going on in other communities? The city of Quincy is encountering many challenges to abide by their own permit. And the top right image there, that's a screenshot that came directly from the Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office, which directs the city of Quincy to spend over $100 million by 2034 to correct their sewage that's leaking into their storm drain system. So this is no joke. This is not that we have that happening in Franklin, but the EPA is taking this very seriously. If they identify a problem that's occurring in a community, they're going to direct you to fix it. If you're not on top of what you're doing and you're not fixing it on your own in a timely manner, they're going to give you a consent decree, and then they'll dictate how quickly you have to do it and how much money and the associated cost is going to be taken up by the city itself or the town itself, and then I'd just like to state how much of a burden this clearly is going to put on the city of Quincy to spend $100 million in 12 years to fix to abide by their consent decree.
This is one of the big concessions that we were able, when Franklin, we did sue EPA, they agreed on a time frame, and I think I showed you the numbers that they're looking at Franklin spend about $60 million over time, eventually, on this program. Well, we pushed back on them and said, you know what, the timetable is really hard for us. That doesn't make sense. We can make substantial improvements. So that's one of the things that we can do. We're not under a time frame. I'm not going to say we're going to have to wait 100 years to do it, because they're not going to be that patient. But we're certainly going to be 12 years. And then when you go to Justfire, they force you to do it in the other communities. But we're a timetable now. We can show we're doing, making progress, and we can apply and extend it out, which is probably what's going to happen with this, just like every other bureaucratic funding program, right? So that's kind of where we're at. So but we have to do something, or else we're going to face that.
So how is this going to improve the residential quality of life? A couple of points here that's going to be really helpful for the residents. One of them being, it says yard waste pickup, but leaf litter collection is something that's important to the residents, and it's important to the stormwater division. And moving forward, we're going to merge those two ideas, and we're going to help out the community while also helping out the environment. It's going to help some drainage improvements, flood mitigation, like was said previously, drinking water protection. Asset protection is a huge one. The estimated replacement value of the pipes and the treatment structures in the ground is at $175 million right now. So we really need to protect what we already have and make sure it operates as it should. And all of that will contribute to healthier waterways, roadway safety, and improved infrastructure.
So, that's about it. I think we kind of touched on a lot of subjects, and if anybody has questions.
Unbelievably short.
That's unusual.
Uncharacteristically short. But understood.
Such a
We've-
long topic.
Yeah, this topic is something that we've been talking about for a number of years, and it just continues to be right here, and we're now in a situation where we've need to deal with it. So with that, I'll open up to questions from the council. Councilor Pellegrini.
The chair, is it possible for us to get copies of that presentation? I think there's a lot of good information there that we certainly weren't able to memorize right now, and it would help us answer questions.
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
Okay, but it would have been nice to have it put in our packets too, so.
It's online.
Yeah,
500 pages.
Thank you.
understood.
That one was 12.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was short.
Short,
We
sweet.
could have put that one. Question. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair, thank you, Brutus and Derek and Kate, for being here tonight to give us this update. And I think we should all just take a moment to say, like, look, nobody likes mandates. I think Brutus already started talking about this. Unless people like unfunded mandates, I don't know who does, but if there's anybody left, nobody wants any federal unfunded mandates. And the fees that we could be saddled with. So, you know, we've spent a lot of time. I was on the ad hoc committee with you all, and we informed the residents. We studied this problem. We discussed it, and you know, I think that we came up, and you came up with the best and most equitable solution for this problem to get us through to the next. What did you say? 40 years?
Yeah, next phase, get us through there.
I mean, I think people need to realize that we're already paying for this work to get done, and it comes out of the general funds. So, you know, when the costs of this program go up multiple millions of dollars every year, then there's less money to spend on the police and the fire and the DPW on our roads. So it will have a huge detrimental effect to the general budget, I think. And I just wanted to thank you for listening to the residents about the credit and abatements, especially the impermeable driveways or the permeable driveway in the retention areas. I know that was something that a lot of people talked about, and I want to thank you and everybody here making sure that got in. But I do have a question about the abatement process. So when would it start? So I've heard residents contact me and say, I've looked up my property and I think there's something wrong with how many units I have. Like, can they contact you now and discuss it?
Tomorrow morning will be open if you can ask.
Well, not today. All right. If you look tonight, you can like call you guys tomorrow and talk about it.
Yeah, we start looking at, particularly if it's a question regarding how many units they have. And
Yeah.
that's the easiest thing that we look at, and Kate would look at those right off the bat. And, you know, she's worked with her team and done a bunch of corrections already, you know, multiple times we've gone through it.
Okay.
So we feel pretty confident they're close, but doesn't mean it won't be a problem. And then additionally, when you start going forward with the other stuff, if it's impervious, you know, whether it could be the gravel driveway or something like that, or we're obviously gonna know the people that are on the aid program, so we'd be able to, you know, we take care of those, and then we'll just look and evaluate, yeah, sure. It would help us realistically before it goes through, and we could probably do some notifications, because I'd rather have when we first start collecting this, when we determine that they're correct, because the last thing I wanna do is the first week, these bills go out, and people come down screaming at us. So I'd rather have it, you know, we have a good time frame before we start collecting, to look at it.
What is the
Jane.
time frame?
I just,
That was one of my questions, so I'll ask Jamie.
So just from to back up a little bit, there is an upfront investment. The money has already been set aside several years ago with an authorization by the council. We have to install a new module in our financial management software. It's not a light switch. It literally is going to take probably a solid 10 to 12 months just to work with Munis to put that all into place, make sure it works correctly, and et cetera. So there is going to be some timeframes in order to develop all of those procedures, because obviously this isn't something that's going to hit people tomorrow. This really takes a really long time to implement. So, it's going to be a work in progress for a little while.
Okay. I have one other question about, it's actually a question about the bylaw, so maybe we could talk about it then, but it's just, you have the credits that are in a handbook, like in how will people state something about the handbook and that, and I didn't know if you were gonna have that available for people, with all the credits in it.
We
Or-
haven't,
You haven't written that yet?
we haven't officially
Okay.
published it. We've had a lot of talk about it, but, we're waiting like anything else, because we only got so much time, because, it's
Right.
been snowing and doing other things too.
Yeah.
So, if we get the go-ahead, obviously, it moves up the chain, and, we'll finalize all that. And to your point, it's, I can't say it enough that, we wanna be ahead of the curve when things come out. There is the financial aspect of the billing, but if someone looks at their property and it looks like 9, you don't only got the official bill that said 12 or whatever it might be, and they think that's wrong, we'd love to talk to them about it beforehand, so when that does hit the street, we have the appropriate answer. It would help everybody out.
Okay.
We want to try to make, this is a tough thing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make it more aggravating for folks. We want to try to make it the most pleasing way possible.
Yeah, absolutely, it is, I don't think any of us like to talk about adding another fee on, or,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the presenters. First, I'm glad that you've done, it seems like I've been through at least 12 of these presentations. And I'm glad you're doing that, because as the chief knows back there, repetition is the mother of all learning. We learned that way back. So with that is, you talked about billing units, just so people, again, know that. It's 1,000 square feet, I don't know if you said that out loud, of impervious coverage, just so they know what a billing unit is. The average person is gonna be $56. One thing I haven't heard in any of these presentations, and maybe this is a Kate question, so the homeowner's gonna pay $56, but what about, say, the Village Mall or Dean College? Like, what's their bill gonna look like?
Their bill's gonna look like what their impervious area is on their parcels. So Dean College is gonna get a really big bill.
Okay, I was just trying to put in perspective towards the homeowners paying just 56, but they're gonna pay.
Yeah, if an average home has approximately 3,000 square feet of impervious area, that's $56. The large developments, the large shopping areas, they have a heck of a lot more than that. And if you go onto the impervious area story map, you can go and look at all of those parcels and you can see what that square foot area is.
Okay. I'm trying to go off the top of my head not to be, but it was, for Dean College is obviously one of the biggest ones, and they were in the $60,000 to $70,000 range.
Okay, I was just trying to give people a little
Yeah.
perspective, that's all. And Councilor Hammond brought up a great point about some of these abatements. Now, say someone has the gravel driveway, you know that right away from your GIS survey, or they have to call?
No, that's an abatement process. There's no way for us to determine what's a gravel driveway versus a paved driveway based on imagery, which is how we do most of the digitizing. So unless we were to drive every street and look at every single driveway, which is just not a feasible method of doing it. So if someone knows they have a gravel driveway, they can come to the DPW and let us know, and we'll do an edit on their impervious area, and we'll take it off there.
And again, all these questions are for people at home that are thinking.
Sure.
Correct,
you know,
yeah.
Some of the things that are left out. Lastly, on the abatement, on your slide, it said, you can get an abatement if you're 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. What does that mean to somebody?
I'm gonna let Jamie explain that one, because you guys,
Town administrator.
you're the financial folks.
I don't understand that, okay.
So in other words, for the folks watching at home, the easiest and most synonymous way to make it is that if you qualify for home heating assistance, okay, which is an annual process, then you would qualify for a waiver. It's really as simple as that. And I can tell you, since the council and the staff revised the community assistance program, which gives, cheap plug, gives 20% credit on water, sewer, and trash bills. Also, there's free recreation programs for qualifying residents. In, I believe it's Chapter 62 of our town code, where the fee section is, there is a whole section on community assistance program. Councilor Pellegri, a couple years ago, asked us to put out a flyer. The flyer is online. There's a whole series of them. We already offer a lot of discounts to qualifying folks. I bet you there's about 100 individuals that frequently apply for those abatements in town. Some people come in once, some people come in every year. But if they qualify for those services, and the criteria is always the same now, if you recall several years ago, there was different criteria, or 6 years ago, you know, it should be pretty cut and dry, and I believe the DPW, you know, has a pretty good idea of who those individuals are.
Thank you. One last thing, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
go ahead, Brian.
So, I understand tonight why we want to vote to move this to the second reading and get it going. But just so, again, people know, I mean, we have this covered for the next 15 months. Is that an accurate number? All through the next budget season and these 3 months.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, both through the town operating budget proposal from the work, the near $1 million in the town operating budget that goes towards stormwater. But ultimately, as Brutus mentioned a moment ago, the saving grace this year is the federal ARPA money. We just put out our applications through the county this past week, and at the April 6th meeting, there will be an update from our office on the federal ARPA money, and you'll see approximately $1.5 million being applied to from the federal ARPA funds towards stormwater to bridge over that year and a half until we can start collecting money in FY24. Remember, you got to start collecting it too. So it's really a 3-year system to go a full cycle.
That was my point, Mr. Chairman. We're not actually going to be taking money from the residents for a good 15 months or so. Just so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted that on the
FY24.
table.
Those are
because
great
I don't think
questions.
some people understood that, you know, they thought, oh, we're going to raise it tonight, and it's just going to come out of your
Nope.
taxes. No, we have a good 15 months or
Yep.
possibly longer.
And if someone wants to pay us early, we can,
20% off, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think former Councilor Andy Basanti is rolling over in his grave right now as we sit here discussing this topic. He despised the stormwater discussion. It's frustrated me for as long as I've sat in this seat. It is by far one of the most tedious things that this town has had to deal with. I understand it. I've had to live with the Childs River Watershed Association updates as well as the mandates that went into the Childs River because I grew up on the other end. Now I live at the beginning of it. I watched all the changes that had to be made, and I get it because I remember growing up in Watertown and having to walk 2 blocks from my house and smelling what the river smelled like back in 1977 as a 7-year-old kid. It was wretched. It's no wonder the river rats are quite literally the size of small dogs, is because they had to deal with the pollutants that were in the river. This is the truth. The river was a mess. I'm glad it was addressed. I'm glad the EPA stepped in and the state stepped in to do its best to try to mandate the necessary needs to address the stormwater as well as the pollutants that were making its way into the river. Now in 2022, this is not new. It's made our way up here to Franklin, Bellingham, and Medway, and we are dealing with a large percentage of the cost necessary to improve the stormwater going off in the Charles River. I know the whole story. The one thing that really frustrates me, though, is how we're approaching these mandates. And we've had this discussion many times, I get that. And I think one of the really puzzling things, and I know that Joe Halligan mentioned it to me several times, talking about the Big Y across the street. Properties who go out of their way to make improvements in such a fashion that the majority of the stormwater is retained and create elaborate, expensive systems to address the stormwater and yet still only get a 50% credit for the amount of water that's being retained. am I accurate when I say something like that? Okay. Another point, and Brutus, I know you know this all too well, because I sent you this picture a couple weeks ago. This is a picture of my field. 8 properties dump water into my field. I filter water for the whole neighborhood from the middle of my field. In fact, I actually get bark mulch from the Davis Thayer in my field because it all runs its way all the way down into the middle of my yard. This is a pond that shows up probably several times during the course of the year when we get large rainstorms. And as far as my house is concerned, I have approximately 2,000 billable units, 2,000 square feet, which is approximately 2 billable units at roughly $18 a piece. Based on our credits, I would get a 50% credit, which means I'm only paying $18 a year, which from my perspective, not a big deal. But I guess my real big question is, why the heck would I be paying anything at all when I'm spending, when my property, for the most part, puts 0 water into the storm system and actually filters 8 other properties' water? And that baffles me. Why would I be paying anything at all when my property is made up in such a way that I'm actually doing the environment a favor? That's frustrating, and I can't assume that I'm the only property that does something like that. And I think that's something that we definitely need to take a close look at, because to have to pay even a 1 billable unit for instance, for my yard actually doing a large percentage of the water filtering, it's just frustrating. I can't imagine what Franklin Village Plaza is gonna feel when they get a bill for $100,000 or something like that. I'm making up the number, I could be wrong with that. And all of that money, all of those fees have to go somewhere. The last thing we've always learned about companies is companies don't pay fees. Customers do. Those fees are simply just gonna get passed on to all the tenants that are at Franklin Village Plaza. It's gonna go into the cost of the food, it's gonna go into the cost of the products, it's gonna go into the cost of the rents, the leases, and everything else that make up these properties. The one thing that frustrates me is that for anyone who makes improvements, and I understand that this is not a grandfathered-in subject, and through Mr. Chairman, to Brutus, is there a way through the MS4 permit that we can allow properties to be grandfathered in such a way that when they do go to make improvements to their property, just like we do for any construction? I mean, in my line of work as an electrician, the normal discussion is pre-existing non-conforming. I know everyone's familiar with that term. That means that it's a pre-existing non-conforming piece of property, and that until that property comes up to the point where it needs improvement, it doesn't need to meet code. Am I correct when I say that this doesn't fall under that same category, right? Nope. So, which means that properties, for all intents and purposes, either make improvements or pay the cost.
Yes. So, you bring up a lot of points, and, you know, so this stormwater utility is I'm trying to say it, I want to try to say it the right way. This is a funding tool. This is what's been used communities all across the country, and then we've modified it through public outreach to what's gonna fit in Franklin. This is the way to collect the money to deal with the unfunded mandate. It's a utility. This money can only be used to fix the stormwater issue, okay? You don't have to do this. This was brought up before. You can pay it out of the tax base. And you can, you know, and it's gonna affect DPW. It's already affecting DPW. I'm already down 2 employees. I've already had to cut road improvements because of this, because I can't do it. But as it grows, you know, you're gonna affect schools, because, you know, that's a general tax base. You're gonna police, fire, libraries. It's just, it's a thing that's out of control. So this is a tool. And the way that, the way we've come up with through discussions and other things is the fact that, you know, it's a 50% abatement that you can get. But it's because they look at the impervious area on a property, and that's an easy, equitable way to do it, that yes, the big Y is bigger than a house on Pond Street. You know, people said, oh, why don't we pay the same thing? But try getting someone on Pond Street to pay the same rate as someone's paying October Drive, when they can say their house is bigger, the driveway's bigger, and everything else. So this is just trying to be an equitable way to do it. And it's not just about on your property or on the Big Y property. This is a total thing. It's, you know, it's pollution from cars. You know, that, the Big Y attracts a lot more vehicles that drive down 140 and everywhere else, and they're dropping oils, pollutions, and everything else that's getting treated in other parts of town. They're getting treated over there also. So, and there is, and it's very clear that, yeah, this is our starting point. This is our starting point. So, where Big Y meets all the standards right now because they went through the permitting process in the last 14 years. So they're catching the first inch of rain that falls in a 24-hour period. That's our criteria. That's the planning board's type thing. Stop and Shop, that plaza, they don't meet it. They don't meet it at all. They're not even close. You know, they have, say, some, you know, a huge impervious area. Are we forcing them to go spend $500,000 to put the stormwater in to make it, you know, now? No, we're not. They can if they want to, and they can get credits, and if they do it through redevelopment, it'd be encouraged that way. So, on one hand, we're not forcing people to do these things right now. It's their choice. A homeowner, he can go out and we talk to, and I know Steve was a big part of it, we can do rain barrels. They will try to get a credit that way. They can go put dry wells in their house, and they can get up to 50% credit. But they're the same ones gonna drive the car and use the rest of the infrastructure through town, that we have catch basins everywhere, you know. Maybe we don't have a lot by your house, maybe we do. We don't have a lot on Jordan Road, we go down Pond Street, we got a lot. So that's how we have to deal with it. So this is just a tool to collect money. And through our presentations and through our input, you know, is this gonna please everybody? No, because we're collecting money. No one wants to pay more, whether it's a tax or utility. But we've come through and listened to feedback and other communities. This just seems the most equitable way to do it in the fairest way. And the most cost-effective way, actually. So that's what we're trying to do with this. I don't know how else to explain it to you.
There's still a floor, Mr. Chairman. It's just that I understand the logic, and I certainly would never want to be the person to sit here and say, okay, we shouldn't implement something like this in order to raise the funds necessary to implement these changes. I get the logic. And the last thing we want to do is impact any of our other departments, considering that the rate of inflation's going up because interest rates are going up. Inflation's up, interest rates are going up today. We're dealing with some major financial issues on top of having some fuel issues. So yes, right now expenses are exuberant in many aspects, and this is a logical way to address a problem. I think one of my issues is that if this is implemented, that this does not stay a stagnant thing, that this stays static, that we continue to approach this stormwater management system, at least on an annual basis, we have some kind of review of the system to make certain that we're doing it and meeting this in an equitable way. I don't agree with many of the things that go with it, like for instance, my house, the way my house is situated, I have like 1 foot of the front of my house that curves towards the street. Everything else curves towards my backyard. So for the most part, my property doesn't really contribute any stormwater to the stormwater system because it drains directly to my yard, which is just frustrating because I can't imagine I'm the only one whose property does that. So I guess what I'm getting at is that as part of this program, what I'd like to see is that when the program's implemented, that we revisit it, A, to make certain that it's working, B, we get the residents' input into how their feelings are as this fee starts to become active for them. They're not gonna be happy. And then, of course, we need to sit down and talk with the community in regards to their thoughts and feedback as to their feelings towards the stormwater management, just in case we need to make some tweaks or changes in the future. I don't want to lose any teachers, police, librarians, or anything like that. My gripe is that I think there's just definitely some parts of this that could definitely still use some tweaking. And I think we need to revisit the credit levels of these, especially for people who go out of their way to make improvements to their property, as well as get rain barrels and any other type of improvements that they may make, to the point that it's more than just 50%. I mean, if somebody really went out of their way to purpose their property in such a fashion that they're collecting 100% of their stormwater, why would they get just a 50% credit? I guess that's kind of what my issue is with. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I'm good.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brutus, I have a question. If I see the abatement process for residential homeowners, and I think there'll be a process, I'm assuming if the, a commercial landowner wants to talk about their property, but what about some of our nonprofits in town? Like, are they going to be able to, like, say, I don't know, St. Mary's? Are they going to be able to come to the town and say, we can do this, we can't do this? Or are they just going to be given proper notice and they have to find the money? Because I think, Dean College is a nonprofit too, but I would almost count them as an exception given the tuition revenues coming in. But we have some other nonprofits in town who have at least expressed some concern to me, and I know to a few other counselors here, that when this does pass, might be a hardship for them. So I don't know if that's been kind of thought through. I'd just love to hear your thoughts.
I look at this whole thing as a hardship for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. It's another burden that's put on, whether you're a nonprofit or you're a homeowner in town or business. And, as Council Jones says, we're all smart enough to know if, the impervious area at Franklin Liquor goes up, I don't know, he's raising his price on his beer to cover it. That's just a fact of life. So they have the opportunity, like anybody else, to go through the abatement process. They're subject to the fee. But yeah, the nonprofits, just by designation, they still have to do the utility. And that's what on one hand, that's the unique thing about it, that a lot of, and that was the thing that was challenged, Franklin did this one, that was the thing that was challenged a lot in courts about nonprofits, the post office, the federal government. The federal government was the first one, I think it was in Myrtle Beach, they challenged paying down there, and they lost in federal court, because it's considered a utility, it's not a tax, and the codes are written that way. It's a user type thing.
Yep. So how much notice are we giving them to be able to budget for this?
So it's probably going to take, we're looking at 15 months to really July 1st to 20.
Mr. Chair, if just hypothetically, if you voted to move it to second reading tonight and you voted at second reading in mid-April, you're talking about a 14-month turnaround based on the resolution that's here tonight. You obviously have a lot of control over how that works.
You're really looking at probably FY '24
Yeah.
before any fees would be collected.
Okay, so a nonprofit like St. Mary's or like Dean College would have at least a year and a half to prepare, find the money, budget for it, appropriately do what they have to do.
And like, we were talking before about, the billable units, and if there's questions about that, I would encourage anybody to reach out to us, and we would be able to look at their site, we'd be able to give them a pretty accurate idea what they're going to have to budget for.
Sure, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselors? Counselor Frangillo.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you for bringing this equitable and efficient policy solution to a very difficult issue. I think that we as a town, and I want to thank everyone's comments, especially Councilor Jones's comments, because I think he touched on a few things that are going to be key to this. We as a town both want to, within this, while funding the expenses that we need, we also want to make sure that we're, A, encouraging good behavior, and B, allowing property owners to have as many tools as they can to lower their expenses. And I think that there are two pieces that are important to each of those. One is looking at those fee schedule, and I look forward to being presented with a credit schedule. And I would also, echo the encouragement to see if we can look at something beyond 50% if there are, extraordinary measures taken, because we do want to make sure that we're encouraging good behavior. The other tool that we have as a town is zoning. And I think that this is just further reminder that we want to make sure that we're allowing all property owners to make the most out of existing developed land. That is good for the town for a multitude of reasons, not least of which is its impact on stormwater. When we mandate excessive parking for property owners, where they have parking spots that they're never gonna use, and now we're saying, and you have to pay us more because you have those, that's us passing on an unfunded mandate to property owners. So I think we also need to take it as a further reminder that we're not putting extraordinary zoning challenges on the town. But yeah, I look forward to that fee schedule, or credit schedule, and thank you for presenting us with a solution.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to speak to the credit schedule real quick. People have asked me why 50. Great question. I think one of the reasons is we just don't have a program yet. We don't have any data. We don't really have how many rain barrels exist in town. We don't know how many gravel lots. I think it sounds easy to do, but one of the logic I presented to some individuals that called me about it was, this is an evolving program that unfortunately, given the mandate from the federal government, is going to go on for decades. And so, to Councilor Jones's point, you know, I have no doubt that there'll be annual presentations and reviews. We've had a lot of them already. This is an issue I know Brutus, Derek, Kate, all of us are going to be working on for the rest of our careers. And so it will continue to evolve. And so that credit system that we talk about, there's nothing preventing us or the council from really advocating for greater credits, but I think we're also stuck in a place of what's going to work, what's technology going to bring us next, and it's just simply, and I'll admit it completely right here, it's just a place to start to try to bring that encouragement and understand what is out there and what is being done by residents already. I particularly believe that there's a lot more being done by residents in private homes than we really know, but we won't be able to really know that until we really get a program going, and so we're just starting with the 50% number. And I wouldn't be surprised at all, to Councilor Jones, Councilor Frangillo, and the whole council, if the credit manual continues to evolve over time. Thank you.
You all set?
Yep, thank you.
Councilor Sheridan?
Yeah, so this is a long-term thing through you, the Chair. And this was a great presentation. Thank you. So as we move, since just 40 or 50 years, as we move to cleaner vehicles and green vehicles, would that help with the pollution and more, and less driving through better public transportation? Would that help
That,
long-term?
it will help, but the main, just so you're aware, the main focus of this permit
Yeah.
is called phosphorus loading. It's about how much phosphorus ends up in the Charles River
Yeah.
that causes algae blooms. So a lot of things that we're doing, part of this, we are cleaning up the other pollution, like the catch basin cleaning and all the other stuff that we have to do to get the oils and everything that drips off the car. But the big driver behind this goes back to the Charles River,
Yeah.
and it's phosphorus loading, and that's what we gotta, clean
Okay.
up. So that
Okay.
is the major driver behind it.
Okay. Thank you.
All set?
Yeah.
Any other counselors? I just have a couple things I wanted to clarify. And the first of which, the opera money that is buying us the next 15 months goes away, which is why it doesn't continue, and why we're looking now at FY '24 probably for the institution of this, because we are able to use some of the opera money to do this. One of the credits or one of the issues you can use to apply for a credit is as simple as a rain barrel. And these are available through the DPW.
Kate has a wonderful program.
Kate does a great
Our
program.
spring program is currently open. So
Hence why I brought it up.
they can go to the Stormwater website. There's a link on the left-hand side for rain barrels. They can click on it and order one, and it will be here in the middle of May.
And so there are some very easy ways for homeowners to apply for some sort of a credit. Obviously, it's not going to be a huge credit, but at least it's something. To Councilor Jones's point about wanting to review, we review the fees, all town fees, on a regular basis. We also go through a complete budget process every year. And as we review the budget, if someone were to bring up or want to discuss and look at changing that fee structure or changing the amount, those are all things that could happen during that process, and that's annually. So this is not something that we're putting in place and never going to look at again. It's something that will be looked at on a regular basis. There is nobody in this room, nobody watching that wants to pay any more fees, myself included. I don't want to pay any more fees. Nobody else does. But unfortunately, this is an unfunded mandate that we've got to find the money to pay. And that money either comes from a fee or we take it from the DPW, the fire department, public safety, police department, schools. The money has to be paid, it's got to come from somewhere. So I really haven't heard any or figured out any way better to pay these costs than to do it with this fee, which is why I've supported it through tonight. Councilor Jones, you had a quick comment?
Just a quick question, actually, through you to the town administrator or to DPW director. Who owns the most impervious surface in the town of Franklin?
Great question. I don't have the answer.
I would assume that would be us.
Yes.
Correct?
I would think.
We do. How does the town get affected
I wouldn't,
by this?
through Mr. Chair, I wouldn't want to speculate about who has the most.
But I think his point is,
But-
who pays the town?
The high school's so nice now.
Well,
That include, because this fee
Well-
does include municipal properties, correct?
that's correct.
Fire hydrants,
All
yeah.
of the schools.
That's correct.
Public
We would
streets.
end up building into Mr. D'Angelo's budget. The school department would build into their budget. Every entity would build into their budget exactly what that fee would be and what that rate would be. The same way that Dean College would build it into their budget, the faith-based institutions would build, just like everybody would build it into every homeowner would build it into their budget at some point. But I would hesitate to speculate on the largest, because there are some fairly large landowners that they have some pretty large pieces
Fair
of
enough,
land.
but we're one of the largest. And
We
just
are.
a safe assumption. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other, Councilor Pellegrini?
Thank you, through the chair. Have any communities thought to put this on their taxes? Pay it through the taxes?
Most communities are paying it through the taxes right now, but there's a majority of, I should say, it's hard to say, but they're going through this right now, going over to a stormwater utility. I think locally, I know the town I live in, Millis has it, Bellingham has it, Agawam has it.
And they have it through the
No, they're starting to go through the utilities because they're facing the same daunting task that Franklin's, going through. And,
Okay, so no community that you know is having this put on their taxes?
well, we're doing it right now. So technically, it's on the taxes right now. What they're trying to do is move.
Is
communities-
to move it out?
Yes. This is the stormwater utility is the popular thing to do right now.
Yeah.
Because, we're I shouldn't say no different, we're a much better community than everybody else. I won't say that, we're Franklin. But most communities are facing the same issues that we are, with this permit. It doesn't affect every community, it's in the MS4 area. But, yeah, it's gonna be burdensome. And the cost that we're facing, think of towns like Watertown, that are really, really dense, and they're gonna have huge bills to pay. And they don't have, one of the things going through this process, I don't wanna go down the whole thing, we're fortunate that we have land out here that we can build BMPs. And talk about like redevelopment, they don't have land, they can't go down because they're below the water table. And they try to filter all, it's really, really expensive. And that's what's gonna happen, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Is there anyone in the council chambers that has a question or a comment? Please, name and address, please.
Steve Sherlock, 10 Lawrence Drive, frequently seen reporting for Franklin Matters. Two things. Definitely interested in that credit table because I know we've talked since 2 years ago about what pavers would be in the driveway that would be acceptable, because I do have a driveway that I want to upgrade and I don't want to put blacktop on it. I want to put something in on it, so avoiding the cracks. So the soonest we have that, that certainly would be appreciated from a personal perspective. To a couple of the other comments, just quickly. And while the presentation was short, some of us have short memories. Mine memory, particularly because of my reporting piece. We've been reporting on this since 2008. The budget has been increasing since 2008. It was projected at 1.9. I think it's 1.6 this year. It's going to go more and more and more. So yes, we could continue to pay from the tax, but then as you sit today, we already have a 1.1 million deficit in the budget today. So where is that going to come from? As opposed to making an equitable and equality-based fee that everybody else can contribute, because, oh, by the way, they're not contributing at all today. They're benefiting from it, but they're not contributing at all. I don't want to pay any more than I have to. I'll pay what I need to. And because this government has at least said we need to fix the Charles, I'm willing to pay my piece. And I'm looking for pavers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the council chambers that would like to speak on this? Please just come forward. Name and address, please.
Karen Landers, Union Street. What is AARP? You've mentioned AARP, AARPA money. Where is that? What is it? Could you explain? Thank you.
It's COVID relief money. Jamie, you want to?
It's the American Rescue Act Plan Act. It's called ARPA, not to be confused with AARP.
But close. But close.
I mean, just so it's for the record, the feds are coming up with these titles. It ain't coming from this place. So, but in all seriousness, if you watched the presentation on April 6th, there was a presentation last October. The town is receiving some federal stimulus money. There's very narrow uses eligible, and one of them is stormwater. And essentially, to Steve's point, if we think about it, from the $1.5 million we're going to be spending from the federal money on this project, which, in their defense is a little bit of funding the mandate, Steve's right. Where would we find that this year? I mean, we're worried about the operating budget. You'd be worrying about it quite a bit more. So it's the federal stimulus money from last March 2021.
What about the infrastructure plan, or the money that's coming from that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, so we actually have a call with, Brutus and I have a call with Congressman Auchincloss in a couple weeks to go through some tidbits on that. I don't see a tremendous amount of opportunities there. Most of those monies are federal grant programs, and the town of Franklin probably has a little more affluence than where most of that grant money is going to go. But we're obviously meeting with the congressman to get his take and to make sure that we do our due diligence. And if there is anything that we can apply for, the DPW is a grants machine, and I'm sure Brutus will be happy to go out and apply for some more grants. So hopefully that legislation also and that money will be here for a few years. So it's going to take a little while to unravel, but we're keeping our eye on it very closely.
Still trying to figure out how to manage the Grove Street job, the $2.5 million grant. So we got a lot of work coming our way. So.
Is there anyone else in the council chambers? Seeing none, I'll move to Zoom, and I know there's at least one. So Jane Calloway Tripp, I see your hand up.
Yes, hello.
Hello. Just name and address, please.
Jane Calloway Tripp, 607 Maple Street. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but you knew I wasn't gonna miss this meeting. Couple of quick questions and then a general statement, concern. Right now, we pay everything that has to do with stormwater that comes out of our taxes, AKA the general funds. So my question is, once the fee is established, which ultimately it's going to end up having to be, the money that was used out of the general funds, I'd like to get an idea of where that's gonna go and if it's gonna go to actually fix some of the things in town that actually need repairs, like the roads, the sidewalks, and stuff like that, for the taxpayers. Also, the other question was, I understand it's not a tax, it's a fee. But just like all the other taxes and fees, they go up. So my question is this gonna be a fee that's gonna be annually increased? Like the water and sewer fee and all that kind of stuff. I get that some families that are lower income that are below the 200% gap can qualify for waivers and stuff like that. But there is a large portion of people in this town that are just over that 200% guideline that wouldn't actually be able to qualify for it. But in today's state right now, with gas being what it is, with the property taxes being raised, with our water and sewer being raised, with the food going grocery shopping, everything is almost doubled in price. Utility bills have all been increased. Having this fee is going to be it's going to just be another burden on the people. And kind of like Councilor Jones had said, taxpayers are actually going to be paying this fee 3 different ways. 1, with the fee that we have to pay on our property. 2, because these businesses are going to pass this fee on to the consumers, which means everything we're already doubled in paying now are going to go up in price. And then we're also paying out of our tax dollars for municipal buildings and the town properties. So I guess my concern is everything is at a skyrocket price right now. What happens to those families that are in the middle ground that don't qualify for the waiver and are really just skating by right now? And if we're also paying for the municipal building properties and the town properties for their stormwater fee, how much are we actually saving out of the general fund?
Thank you, Jane. Jamie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you're saving out of the general fund. You can't hold me to this number because I'm projecting out 2 fiscal years here. So, but you're approximating about $1 million. So what would happen with that? I can't speak to that. Jane, I think you give a great suggestion on priorities that are clearly important to everybody in the town. I've said this my entire career here. DPW touches basically every square inch of Franklin. They do work everywhere, and we know that they've struggled for funding. But obviously I can't speak in any specifics just because we're a couple fiscal years away, but I have no doubt that that will get a lot of attention during that budget season in FY24, FY25. The next question, to remind me?
Fee raise.
Fee, the raising
Oh,
of the
raising the
fees.
fee. Well, I mean, I think mainly our utility fees have a long history of being what they are to pay for the service. And as many of you know who have been on the council many years, you've seen Brutus's sheets of the trash fee 20 years ago, and they've gone down and down and down, and then up and then down and then up and then down. I expect the stormwater fee in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I have no doubt that it will likely be higher, but it'll fluctuate based on the success of the program, and it's ultimately a market-based program to pay for the actual service to comply with the federal mandate.
Mr. Chairman, I just think it's important to know, and I think we all know, fees, it'll probably go up because as the work goes through. But one important thing that we're doing, working this year and next year, is basically the big part of the permit's called a phosphorus control plan, and that's going to dictate the work we're going to have to do, and that's going to give us options to create the most. We always call it the low-hanging fruit. What's the most cost-effective way to do that and you know, to pat the town on the back, you know, we got a 10% credit, as the whole state did, because we banned phosphorus fertilizer in the state, and we saved $300 million throughout the state, and that came from Franklin, because that's what we did, and that saved us money. So that's the stuff we go after. I mean, so this plan, you know, we're gonna scrutinize it, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna come up with the best things we can do, just like we do in our water program. We fix the best road, or the worst roads with the water line, and we try to put everything together. And, you know, the way we treat our sewer, doing an ongoing maintenance plan to stop sending excess fluid, that's what we do. And we can show you the numbers that, you know, sometimes you have to spend money to save money. It's an oxymoron, but ultimately that's what we do here, so.
Thank you, Brutus. And thank you, Jane. Is there anyone else in Zoom land? I think Christine Anderson is out there. If you'd unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, this is Christine Anderson. I'm at 5 Peters Lane. And thank you for the presentation. I've been following this eagerly as a homeowner. But there is just one point that I'd like the counselors to consider. Because this is an unfunded mandate, I understand, and it's hard to hear too when I think about the schools, right? Because we know, and I've been listening to the budget discussions, that we have issues there. As Ms. Callaway-Tripp just explained, we know that the taxpayers in the town are feeling all of these fees coming down at once. And so my question for the council, not to be answered today, but to think about is, what do we value as a town? Because what we're telling the school system, as I listen to the budgets over the years, is we need to know what your unfunded mandates are, but the schools have to cover it by reducing services. Here, we are assessing a fee, as we just heard, to cover the additional cost. And in covering that cost, for some taxpayers, that will mean, should the town council decide to move forward with looking at raising taxes, that people just won't be able to do it. And so I do ask the town council just to really think about what the next moves will be, because I think it's going to be super important as these COVID funds drive up, whether it's what we're hearing here or whether it's through the school committee, that we be really mindful of what is being charged to the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Councilor Jones had a quick follow-up.
I did, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bruce, just a curious question. What's the end goal? What's the benchmark? What do we, I guess in essence, how do we judge this and when do we judge this? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 years? What does MS4 say in regards to, okay, you've met our goal, this is our goal. What is that? I guess my question is, what's the goal?
Where's the end?
Yeah, well, what's the end goal?
Is there an end?
There is no end, and, you know, this is the second phase of the MS4 permit. We did phase 1, which wasn't that cost effective, and then it took them 7 years to come out with phase 2, which we're going through now, which in really easy terms is basically a 20-year permit, but there really is no end to it. So, because they changed the standards. Right now, what we're being based upon is a statistical way of reducing phosphorus pounds. What are we at, Kate?
So it's 2,000 kilograms was our baseline that we were discharging into the Charles River watershed in the approximately 2008. What they're expecting us to do is reduce that by half.
And keep it there.
And keep it
Okay.
as of right now.
So ultimately, that's the goal, is to get below that benchmark. That's what
Yes.
I'm basically asking, if that's our benchmark.
That's the current
right now
expectation.
Because if I recall from several conversations, especially with the Charles River Water Association, don't get me wrong, I've supported the Charles River Water Association many years, the goal was ultimately to turn the Charles River into, I guess there's 5 different levels of swimmability, and I think currently the Charles River is level 3, and they want to make it level 4. Am I correct in that statement? I don't think the Charles River level will be a level 5, but I think a level 4 is what they're trying to get their goal to, right?
Off the top of my head, that sounds accurate, but from our perspective, it's all about the amount of phosphorus that's being discharged from the town of Franklin into the Charles River watershed. And these treatment structures that we put in, each one reduces that load by an amount that's calculated.
Yeah.
And the low-hanging fruit, as Bruce already said, has been tackled. And now we're gonna get really creative with the ways going forward, how we're gonna manage it.
All right, so that's our benchmark. You mentioned that may change.
Well, the permit is renewed every 5 years. In theory, we waited how many years for we were operating under an expired permit for multiple years. So our current permit, that's what is expected of us. But none of us know what's going to
That's,
happen.
thank you. That was the one.
One
number.
additional thing, so the reason that we're looking to enhance our leaf litter collection, for example, is that will receive us credit for our phosphorus load to the Charles River. So that's why it's really a win-win.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor John. Seeing no further questions on Zoom and no further questions from the audience. Brutus, thank you. Derek, Kate, thank you very much. Next.
You might want to stay there.
I know. Probably a good idea to stay there. Okay. We will move on to legislation for action. Bylaw Amendment 22-876, Chapter 153, Stormwater Management, Corrective Legislation. First reading, clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Bylaw Amendment 22-876, Chapter 153, Stormwater Management.
Motion to waive the reading?
Second.
Motion and a second to waive the reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to waive the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Somebody want to move the resolution?
Move resolution,
Who's bylaw?
Bylaw.
Bylaw amendment.
move bylaw amendment 22-876 to a second reading.
Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. Jamie, I'll ask you for a quick summary, just so that, because we waived the reading.
Through you,
'Cause
Mr.
it's
Chairman,
about
so
10
that
pages long.
this is a corrective amendment to the bylaw that allows, I think you allow under the authority to give the DPW and the town administration the ability to have the credit and abatement systems. And we just had to change the bylaw, so it all had to be renumbered and reordered for the various purposes of changing those definitions. Is that accurate, Mark? Pretty good? Look at that.
Okay.
Oh, and just
Oh,
Go ahead, Mark.
the next one, when you actually get to the fee references back to this bylaw, so it absolutely has to be
Both.
correct and accurate.
Understood. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 22-876 to a second reading. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bylaw Amendment 22-877, Chapter 82, Municipal Service Fees. Amendment at Section 82-6, Schedule of Service Fees, Subsection A, Administration, Stormwater Utility Fee. First reading, clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Bylaw Amendment 22-877, Chapter 82 Fees, Municipal Service Stormwater Utility Fee. A bylaw to amend the Code of the Town of Franklin, the Chapter 82 Fees, Municipal Service by adding a new definition, Stormwater Utility Fee, and a new service fee, Stormwater Utility. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 82 of the Code of the Town of Franklin Fees, Municipal Service is hereby amended as follows. Section 82-5, Service Fee Definitions, insert in appropriate alphabetical order a new definition. Stormwater Utility Fee shall have the definition provided in the Code of the Town of Franklin, Chapter 153, Stormwater Management, Article 5, Stormwater Utility, subsection 153-31, Definitions, Section 82-6, Schedule of Service Fees, insert in subsection L, Public Works, an appropriate alphabetic order, a new service fee, Service fee, stormwater utility, rate $18.66 per billing unit per property. This bylaw amendment shall become effective on and after July 1st of 2023.
Move bylaw amendment 22-877 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council? I think we've kind of
Beat that one.
we've kind of beat that one up pretty well. And I'm sure there will be ongoing. So is there anyone in council chambers or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 22-877 to a second reading. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bylaw Amendment 22-878, Chapter 82, Municipal Service Fees, amended at Section 82-6, Schedule of Service Fees, subsection A, Administration, Passport Photo Fee. First reading. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very happy to read this one. Bylaw Amendment 22-878, Chapter 82 Municipal Service Passport Photo Fee. A bylaw to amend the Code of Town of Franklin, Chapter 82 Fees, Municipal Service by adding a new service fee, Passport Photo. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 82 of the Code of Town of Franklin Fees, Municipal Service is hereby amended to amend the following, and this is to add the last line of the list, passport photos, $10. This bylaw amendment shall be effective in accordance with the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 22-878 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there is another fee resolution here. But hopefully everybody can take a big, deep breath. This is a good fee. In fact, everybody still seems so stunned by the last vote. Even the DPW is still sitting up here at the rostrum when they don't need to. But
it's because I haven't released them yet.
Yeah. I wanted to put on the agenda, the police promotions, and then we had to do the stormwater, and now a great customer service initiative. I've been working on this for 4 years, and through a lot of the reorganization in Town Hall, we realized through years of passport services, I know many years ago, they were in the town clerk's office, and unfortunately, the federal government won't allow that anymore, so we found a really friendly space down on the first floor. We used to make people truck all the way up to the third floor, but now they're down on the first floor. We've put world maps downstairs. It made a nice office for people because we learned through the pandemic and before that how important passport services are to a lot of people. And one of the things that we experienced here was a lot of folks come all the way in with their family, their kids, their young kids, they're gonna go travel, maybe their extended family, they trudge all the way into Town Hall, and then they realize they don't have photos, and then we point them right back down the street to Walgreens or CVS to go get their passport photos. And so we came up with this initiative to try to allow a one-stop shop for all of the families in town to be able to come in and not only get their passport, but also if they did forget their passport photos, we've established a little kiosk downstairs where the family can take the passport photos so they don't have to have the inconvenient trip down the street. As a result, the town attorney has ruled that this fee is a service fee and does need to be included in the town code. Just for the record, the passport fee for your passport is not included in the town code because it's a federal fee that they set. So just in case folks may be confused out there. So that's why this is on the agenda tonight, and I know there's already a line of folks ready to get their passports done and get the photos, because they asked me already, can we start these last month? And I said, just let's wait until the fee goes through. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilors, Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe, Jamie, last year I called you up and said that one of the first services I would like to see put back in order is actually passports, because we suspended passports during the COVID time, and we had actually let our certifications expire. Am I correct?
That is correct. However, that is correct that you did call, Counselor Jones, absolutely, to the first question. And the second one is, we hired a part-time, a permanent part-time position to do the passport services in the middle of all the transition. And we hired that individual as the pandemic came out.
Right. Mr. Chairman. One of my major quirks I had about being adamant about bringing back the passport services here to the town of Franklin was the simple fact that I had to go to the Medway post office to get my son his passport, and those were costs, or I should say fees, that were going to the town of Medway that could just have well come here to the town of Franklin. So at least by providing this service, we now have an option to take on those expenses as well as allow an additional service to our community, which I think is a great idea, Jamie. I give you kudos for putting this together. This $10 fee is probably, I hate to say it, I'm happy to see this free on this list. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Pellegrini.
Through the chair, I'm very happy to see this $10 fee also. When I was clerk and we were doing passports, that was the biggest problem. People would come in without their picture, so then they had to put things aside, go out there and do the picture, and then have to come back again. And it was difficult when they had children. So I think this is a great service to the community, and I'm glad that we're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 22-878 to a second reading. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 22-19, gift acceptance, Fire Department, $1,050. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 22-19, acceptance of gift for the fire department, whereas the fire department has received several generous donations in the total amount of $1,050 to be used at the discretion of the department as follows. Donation summary, fire department, $1,050. One, gifts received in memory of Joseph Nasuti to be applied towards the purchase of safety and other related equipment as well as support various fire department programs. Please see attached memo dated March 11, 2022 for a list of donors. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Fire Department, gratefully accepts this generous donation to be used at the discretion of the Fire Department as described above. This resolution to become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 22-19.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Condolences to the Nasuti family, and thank you to all those for their generous donations.
Well said. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Again, condolences and thank you very much for this generous donation. So with that, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-19. Majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 22-20, gift acceptance, Veterans Services Department, $2,250. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 22-20, acceptance of gift, Veterans Services Department. The Veterans Service Department has received a generous donation in the amount of $2,250 to be used at the discretion of the department for programs and services as follows. Donation summary, 1, Veterans Services Department, Veterans Gift Fund, the Fletcher Hospital Corporation, $2,250. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Veterans Services Department, gratefully accepts this generous donation to be used at the discretion of the Veterans Services Department as described above. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 22-20.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to pass it right over our Veterans Officer, Shannon Nisbet, who wants
Sure.
to make a quick comment.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank the Fletcher Hospital Corporation for this very generous donation on behalf of our veterans. We are so fortunate to have such great community support in Franklin. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Very well said.
Mr. Chairman, do we have an opportunity for a question?
Absolutely.
I'm just curious, Shannon, if you don't mind, was this a grant that you wrote to them? Like, how did this gift come about?
They sent it on their own volition, and just donated the funds. They reached out to see which fund it would be most appropriate for.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Jamie, anything to add?
Thank you.
Okay. So the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-20. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 22-21, FY '22 Capital Improvement Plan. Nobody here interested in that, right? We have a full audience in the, all our department heads. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 22-21, appropriations for capital fiscal year '22. Total amount requested, free cash, $2,044,108. Water retained earnings, $2,347,000. Sewer retained earnings, $1 million. The purpose is to appropriate funds for the fiscal year 2022 capital improvement plan. I have the departments, the descriptions, the categories, and the amounts with their totals. Schools, math and social studies curriculum, under curriculum, $550,000. Schools, under facilities. Food service equipment, $81,000. Under schools, 8-passenger special education van, under vehicles for $55,000. Under schools for technology, domain controllers under technology for $20,000. And TerraBlock server, also under technologies, for $40,000. For total for schools, $701,000. Facilities, senior center outdoor pavilion infrastructure, $100,000. Town clerk's office, election tabulator, 3 poll pads, under technology for $10,425. The fire department, municipal fire alarm systems upgrades, under technology, for $116,706. Department chief emergency response vehicle, under vehicles, $122,138. Portable radios under equipment, $91,978. For structural firefighter clothing, under equipment, $10,000. For total fire expense of $430,822. Under police vehicles, $337,261. For electronic control weapons under equipment, $14,600. For a total police capital of $351,861. Under public works, street acceptances under infrastructure, $25,000. For veterans memorial restoration under infrastructure, $30,000. For downtown community improvements, also under infrastructure, for $50,000. And public works vehicles and equipment, $435,000. For total public works, $540,000. Total free cash appropriation, $2,044,108. Under water enterprise funds, water main replacement projects, infrastructure, $1,662,000. Vehicle and equipment under vehicles, $85,000. Fisher Street WTP upgrade feasibility study under infrastructure, $60,000. Hillside tank design, $290,000. SCADA system upgrade phase 2 equipment, $200,000. Meter replacements as part of equipment, $50,000. For a total water enterprise, $2,347,000. Sewer enterprise FY '22 sewer pump station improvements, $300,000. And a phase V1 sewer rehabilitation construction project part 1 under equipment, $700,000. For a total under sewer enterprise, $1 million. Finance committee actions, meeting dates on 2/9/22 was a unanimous vote, 8-0, to recommend the amount of $5,391,108. Motion. Be it moved and voted by the town council that the sum of $2,044,108 be appropriated from free cash, $347,000 be appropriated from water retained earnings, and $1 million be appropriated from sewer retained earnings to be expended at the discretion of the town administrator for fiscal year 2022 capital improvement plan as outlined above, including any residual funds remaining in these line items. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution number 22-21.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, really quickly, I hope folks have an opportunity to read through the memos that were here. The next three resolutions all are relating to the capital program. The resolution that Councilor Jones just read, the stabilization fund transfer legislation, as well as the borrowing authorization for the Horace Mann. These all have gone through the Finance Committee, and they voted unanimously a month and a half ago. And the Town Council Capital Subcommittee that Councilor Pellegrini chairs also voted on these recently. With that as a background, I'm happy to take any questions, or if Councilor Pellegrini wants to have any comments, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Pellegrini, who chairs the Capital Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met on two separate occasions, and having spoken with everyone, our committee had many questions that we asked, and the results was that we were in agreement with everything that was asked for on Resolution 2221.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Chandler?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the town administrator. I just wanted to thank you, Jamie, and the facilities for getting that, I've said it to you before, the senior center pavilion. I really thought that was the best thing that we were able to do with some money. I think everyone's going to appreciate that out back, so I think it's going to really be nice. Thank you for that. And the one thing I'm still having trouble with, was the fire truck included in this that resolution just now?
Jamie?
Mr. Chairman, the stabilization fund transfer?
Yeah.
It was not.
That's no, we didn't do it, you mean?
Yeah, we did not.
Right, I just wanted people at home to understand that it was on a 7-year replacement, but we're putting 0 in.
Through Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and I just didn't know if you wanted to say a reason why we didn't have to do that for people at home, because that's...
Sure, yeah. Through Mr. Chairman, the main reason is the town went out and got extraordinarily lucky, really lucky, if my facial expression on TV doesn't convey it, that the fire department and the chief and the deputies happened to find 2 fire trucks that were made and that were not far down the street, and we came in and asked you for the borrowing authorization to borrow for that. It ended up being a really financially advantageous solution, especially now that they're looking out at 18 months to get a fire truck. They just drove them right up 495, up a few cities and towns. Both are working out great, and so we took a pause on the annual deposit of about $100,000 into that stabilization account because both trucks are in decent shape for a while. Obviously, the ladder truck is a whole different ball of wax. That's not something we can just pay for in cash. That's probably going to be another borrowing authorization because of the expense affiliated with that, but that's still not too far down the road. So that's the main reason, Councilor Chandler.
Well said, Mr. Town Administrator. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Brian. Further comments? Councilor Cormier-Ledger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and want to echo Councilor Pellegrini's comments. It was great working on that subcommittee and hearing from all the department heads about the priorities. If people haven't gone through and read the report and seen the notes, I think it's important to understand there's $136 million worth of projects that the town doesn't currently have the funding for that have been identified. So as we start to talk about difficulties with budgets and all these things that we keep talking about online and everybody arguing, let's keep that in mind, that that's sidewalks, that's streets, that's infrastructure. So we are very lucky to have these funds this year to do these improvements, and they're all wonderful improvements. We may not have those funds next year, and we just need to be mindful that all of those things will somehow, some way need to be funded as we start to talk about these difficult difficult budget times ahead, so thank you.
Thank you to Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to, probably Jamie could answer this. I just wanted to remind myself and maybe people who are watching, the Fisher Street water treatment plant upgrade feasibility study, that was the water treatment plant that got hit by lightning and then didn't work for a while. Is that, yeah, okay, so I think that's great. We need to think about upgrading that a little bit, so thank you for that.
You bet.
I'm sure that was Brutus or maybe
Jake,
Derek.
actually, it was Jake. Actually,
Jake?
everybody over there, I think everybody, Doug, Danica, Kate, Derek, Bruce, everybody was bouncing their heads, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
DPW
I mean,
team's
that,
over there.
that was horrible
Yeah.
for this community.
Yeah.
It really did a lot of, it was really bad, took a long time to fix it, so I love this, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Listen, I've sat on the capital committee many years. I'm not on it this year, but I completely understand the needs of every single department. And I want to thank every single department for coming forth to the council, to the capital committee, and requesting the funds necessary for many of the expenses that your departments have to incur. Every single year, I understand the difficulties that are associated with trying to get things for your department. And again, I love it when everyone comes in. You can ask for, anything you can imagine. We're always happy to listen to them, but we're also very happy to listen to what your needs are. And I think this ultimately, hopefully, meets a good portion of your needs. And that's just a variety of things. Chief, I'm surprised I don't see bulletproof vests on here this year.
It's one of those years we don't have.
But. Lunch next year.
You don't have any? Okay.
But the one thing I offer up to our department heads is that, keep bringing those requests forward. We really want to know what your needs are. I know there, as I think Councilor Cormier-Ledger put it best, we do have quite a ridiculous amount of things we need to pay. But I'm just happy that we're able to meet some of the capital needs that our departments request. And I fully support these funds, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Glenn. Any further questions or comments? Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, I guess I would first say I'm lucky that we have, or we're lucky that we have such a qualified, finance committee and capital committee to go through and really make sure that by the time it gets to us, it's in good shape, and they're good recommendations. I had three things stand out to me. One is, it might come off as silly, but we all, campaign on, our interest in saving money and using every last penny. And one of the things that always stands out to me is when we buy new vehicles. There's new vehicles being purchased for schools, fire, DPW, and police. And they all say that we're getting the 2023 model. Now, I don't know much about cars, but I know that they depreciate the moment they step off the lot. And also, we're not the wealthiest town. And, one of them's like a Ford 250. I'm sure there are a lot of those around that we could get a better deal on. Is there a reason why we are always purchasing the latest and newest and shiniest vehicles?
Jamie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know what? Why not let Brutus come back up? Let's hear Brutus's response to this. It'll be, I think, much more entertaining.
It's already entertaining.
So I'll be brief. So the first thing is, we did a car study here a long time ago. We used to take the old cop cars and we used them for all the town-run vehicles. And we did a study on that, and even though you get the car for free, catalytic converters, police tires, and everything else were very expensive. If you drive around here, we still got cars that, DPW bought for the town, I'm gonna say 12 years ago, small, little, compact cars, very fuel efficient, low maintenance. So we've done that already. Okay, we buy a lot, we've bought used vehicles before. Problem is right now is no used vehicles, and I can tell you the capital appropriation last year, we're still waiting on what, 2 trucks? Three. Yeah, they're not gonna be built till October because of that ongoing chip problem. So, and we've actually, they heard that some of the trucks that we were supposed to replace, we had to already auction because they fell apart. So we're short vehicles. So it's, and the other thing we do is we buy in consortium. We don't just buy, we don't just go out to the dealer and buy it. We use different state bids that we buy them at a group rate. We actually get a much cheaper discount. And one of the trucks we're actually buying, it's not available, and I yelled at him because I said, I look on your website and it's on the lot, but the factory doesn't subsidize them, because factory actually subsidized from utilities, so they're gonna eat the $6,000 whenever our truck's built. I could tell you, like, we do like really nice trucks though. So, but that's the truth behind it. We run that.
Jamie?
It wasn't as entertaining as I thought it was going to be until the end. He saved himself at the end. Through you, Mr. Chair. So, number one, we buy a lot of vehicles through the state bid list. Number two, we buy a lot of specialized parts that go with a lot of these trucks in terms of snow plows, in terms of what's needed on the inside and the outside. It may seem like a Ford F-250 is just an off-the-lot truck, like you would go buy one yourself, but it's not really the same thing. And the last thing I would say is we actually do, when appropriate, and it's more relating to the facilities department as well as sometimes the school department, we do buy from vendors right here in Franklin. When we can buy those trucks from vendors that are here in town, we have really good relationships with those vendors. I know Brutus as well. So when there are opportunities for a truck that is more generic and relatable to like an average pickup truck that somebody would buy off the lot, we do take advantage of those, and the local folks do a really good job helping us out too. And I just want to throw a shout out to those automobile vendors in town. They really, really do help us out in a lot of situations. A couple times they've really gotten us out of some tough situations with some of the vans that we've had. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Frangillo, still have the floor.
Yeah, no, that was a very helpful answer. My two other points are things that I've talked about before, but they feel like they're worth repeating. One is, it strikes me as strange, and I've talked about this before, that we would no longer be contributing to our open space. When we, and I've said this, when we went out and did the Community Preservation Act and agreed that we wanted to spend more money on things like open space, it didn't seem like that was, like we told people, oh, we're actually going to spend the same amount of money, we're just going to move it over here, right? This seemed like a prioritization of something, and we wanted to invest in it. So it feels weird to, as soon as we have that, take the other thing away. So I say this not to say that we need to bring this up, but as a reminder to us that when there are opportunities that come up, that we choose to invest fairly and know that the townspeople have asked us to make this a priority. So if we need to use free cash or whatever else at that time, we keep in mind that we've zeroed this out, or no longer, not zeroed out, or no longer contributing, but it still has 2.5, something like that.
2.5 million.
2.5.
Yeah, but we're no longer contributing. The last point, and I'm super happy that Councilor Cormier-Ledger also mentioned it, but there's a whole bunch that we still don't have, that we don't have money for. And I focus specifically on the 40 million plus in roads and sidewalks. This is a basic service that we all assume as Franklin residents to have updated roads and sidewalks, and we're $40 million behind, and that number continues to grow. It's further reminder to all of us as a council that we need to increase our revenue in a way that doesn't further exacerbate our infrastructure struggles. So those are my 3 points. Thank you so much for bringing this plan forward.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Any other councilors? Seeing anyone in the audience, please.
I'll let him give the good news. Brian?
So I just wanted to let you know, we were looking at Tri-County, and Gus, our building commissioner, texted me before the meeting. We hadn't heard from them, but now they have accepted the project to build the shade cupola at the senior center. So that's a big plus, a big donation, and makes it much more financially good for the town and the senior center, so.
Nice.
So make sure you do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And thank you, Tri-County.
Yeah.
And the students get to build something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right here.
yeah. Yes,
Karen Landers, Union
Thank
Street
you.
again. The passport fee, is that per person? Or if a whole family goes in, do they just pay that one fee?
it's per person,
Per phone.
yes. Any other questions on Resolution 22-21? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-21. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 22-22, free cash to stabilization accounts transfers. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 2222. Appropriation for free cash to stabilization account transfers. Total amount requested, $1,597,000. The purpose is continued funding of the stabilization funds per town policy. Purpose continue, I just said that. Transfer to, reason for, the source, and the amount. Transfer to field stabilization, fund artificial turf replacement in 2027 from free cash for $150,000. Transfer to budget stabilization for continued funding from free cash for $1 million. And OPEB trust fund, continue funding 10% of free cash, $447,000 for a total of $1,597,000. Finance Committee voted on February 9th, 2022 unanimously to recommend $1,597,000. Motion, be it moved and voted by the Town Council that the sum of $1,597,000 be transferred from free cash to the field, budget, and OPEB trust stabilization accounts as outlined above. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 22-22.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just from the previous discussion, these are the required resolution for the 3 deposits into the 3 stabilization funds as outlined by Councilor Jones.
Thank you. Discussion, questions from the council? From the audience, anyone? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-22. Majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 22-23, authorizing the borrowing of money to pay costs of repairs for Horace Mann School. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 2223, authorizing the borrowing of money to pay costs of repairs for Horace Mann School. Whereas the Town Council has been advised of the need for repairs to Horace Mann School drainage system, including all costs incidental and related thereto. Now therefore be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Franklin that $400,000 is appropriated to pay costs of making repairs to the Horace Mann School drainage system, including all costs incidental and related thereto. And that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer collector, with approval of the town administrator, is authorized to borrow $400,000 under General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 7-1, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 22-23.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, this is just the extension to finalize the project, and really quickly, we are proposing, as it's been approved by the Capital Subcommittee as well as the Finance Committee, a borrowing on this so that we can make sure we free up other free cash for other projects as outlined by everybody else. Thank you.
Further discussion from the council. Council Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just think it's important for the public to understand this particular line is going to help we have a flooding issue, correct, Mr. Administrator? We have serious flooding issue at the Horace Mann School when we have torrential rain that they've been trying to Band-Aid for a long time, but this is going to be a permanent solution.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's correct, and nobody knows the building, Mr. Chairman, more than you. But we obviously, to Councilor Cormier-Ledger's point, those that go in the Oak Horace Mann complex, ECDC, are probably very familiar with this. And we've had the theater flood a couple times, and the reality is that the rainstorms that are coming and at the condensed nature of the rainstorms, particularly in the summer, the pipes just simply was not built for that type of water in that time frame to come through the pipe, and that's really what's causing a majority of the problems. And Mike and his staff, as well as our engineers, have tried to triage virtually every other option, and this is basically the last option, the solution.
This is truly a design flaw from the beginning, when they put in that center
courtyard. Yeah.
Courtyard, that trying to bring, it was put in to try and bring light, natural light, into as many areas of the school as possible. And during the design phase, they just didn't appropriate big enough lines or pipes to get the water out of that courtyard when you had major rainstorms. And we've been dealing with it for a long time.
Yeah.
Forever.
I think it's important, too, to note, Mr. Town Administrator, that at our capital committee meeting, they did inform us there'd be little to no disruption to the school and the children that are in school and the teachers and the program, that they're really going to work to put this in off shifts or even over the, I believe, perhaps into the summer, so that there'd be as little disruption as possible.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, both are correct. It'd be an off-cycle second shift, as well as trying to do a majority of the work in the summer. It still may take a little longer than this summer, but to your point also, Councilor Cormier-Ledger, fortunately overall, the disruption to Horace Mann, while there have been disruptions, I'm not saying there haven't, I just want to remind the public, most of these storms have been happening in July and August, obviously. So fortunately, one silver lining is it hasn't happened really during the school year and had a major disruption. But we're going to try to work around so there's as little disruption as possible to the students.
That's it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 22-23, a 2/3 majority votes required. So it doesn't need to be roll call, correct?
Correct.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town Administrator's report.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman. So I added on a line item on here, which will be on for the next few agendas, the FY23 budget update. In short, I'm not going to obviously rehash what was talked about last week, but we did have a joint budget subcommittee meeting last Thursday, which I thought was very productive for an hour or two, really going line item by line item through the whole budget and explaining the cost drivers in the budget as well as the revenue assumptions. As Mr. Sherlock pointed out earlier in the meeting, obviously it's going to be a challenging year, but every year is a challenging year when working on the operating budget. I've never known a year where the operating budget wasn't challenging. It is always challenging and always will be challenging. And I think despite some of the difficult choices we have coming up in front of us this year, at the end of the day, I can assure the public that there will be a budget who will deliver high-quality services to town that people have come to expect. And we're going to be able to hopefully make some strategic investments in a couple of departments. But overall, as we've said many times before, our budget is a fixed cost budget. We're a brick and mortar meat and potatoes budget. There's not really a lot of fancy extra stuff in there. Most of it is personnel. And if anybody has any questions, obviously they can reach out to me, any member of the public offline. But I put this on so that in case there were any questions as we go through the budget process through May, folks on the council have an ability to ask me over the next couple months. So happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure others will comment on the budget subcommittee in a little bit.
Questions or comments from the council? From the audience? Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Anything else in your report?
All set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to future agenda items. Councilor Sheridan.
Do we get the chair, we get, Mr. Administrator, we got two emails today. Can you address those? If,
This would be a future
Okay.
agenda item.
so,
That's what we're looking to do.
I get complaints about the train making noise, blowing the horn. And I know it might be a safety issue, but I wonder if that could be looked at.
Okay, all right. We can, it's something that we've entertained for the last 20 years that I'm aware of. We've had the same issues, so.
I mean, really quickly, I mean, there was a legislative appropriation that I have been working on for 8 months to get the money from the MBTA. I know they're not listening tonight, but it shouldn't take the jaws of life to get a legislative appropriation out of them to do a quiet zone study. They've promised me 3 times in 4 months they're gonna wire the money. They don't do it. And so for people out there that wonder what the T's like, sometimes this is just what it's like. And as a result, people who are hoping for that quiet zone study, we can't get it started without the money, so, thank you.
Anything else, Councilor Sheridan? No. Councilor Frangillo?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Hamblin?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Cormier Ledger?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Chandler?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Pellegrini?
Nothing at this time, but I do have a comment for our counselor that brought up about the trains. And I think perhaps they do sound louder now because there's no leaves on the trees. I have them way in the back of my yard. And it's this time of the year that you faintly hear them. And once the leaves are on there, you can't hear them at all. So I mean, perhaps that's why we're hearing these concerns now. But they have been brought up year after year after year. And we do the best we can.
Okay, Councilor Jones?
No, sir.
And I don't have anything, and I did skip over subcommittee reports. So capital, do you have anything more to
add
report?
it, other than to say thank you to the councilors for their support in us and the trust that you had in us for holding the committee meetings and that, and we did ask questions after questions, and the finance committee went along with it all too, so for that we say thank you.
Thank
for
you.
your support.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Budget Subcommittee, we met as a joint budget subcommittee. The actual council budget subcommittee met with the school committee's budget subcommittee as well as the finance committee's subcommittee. This was a process that was started about 8 or 9 years ago, where we started bringing the subcommittees from those three boards together as the budget cycle starts, so that we try and understand where each other is coming from and the needs from within. This was the very first meeting. I think it was a really good start as we begin this process over the next few months. This is, we'll meet again in April, and as budgets begin to build from the school department as well as the municipal. So unless anybody has any questions. Okay, Economic Development Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met last Monday for the EDC Plus, the steering committee of the Franklin for All. I'm not sure if all of you tuned in or not. I think a lot of you were in the audience. We had a lot of participation, and the Franklin for All project is about maybe changing some zoning, but also thinking about how fund, how we actually get our funding engine cruising down there, he's holding up the survey sign. So,
It's got a QR code.
yeah, if everybody can Oh, look, we got, thanks for watching. Is that like when you get the Emmy Award or something?
I think that's
And it's like
kinda
the
like-
music
In
plays.
television land, that's like getting the hook.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. And so a portion of the subcommittee plus, the steering committee plus met with Steve Surlock and Franklin Matters, and we had a really nice discussion about trying to help people understand what we're trying to do, and I hope everybody listens to that. And our next meeting will be before the next town council meeting, which is April 6th. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank you.
Hamblin. Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Any questions for Councilor Hamblin? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to councilor comments. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Councilor Hamblin. It was a pleasure to attend that meeting. Nice job to all of you that put it on. I thought it was very informative. It was great to see the community come out. I always like to put a plug in for new businesses that have come to town, so shout out to the owners of the Man Cave, the new barber shop that opened up in town. As you can see, I decided to go get a much-needed haircut, and they were fantastic. Some of you may not need it, but you know what? You can still go. You can still go in and say hi. And want to remind everyone that we have counselor hours tomorrow morning at the senior center, and wish everyone a very happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to give my condolences to the Maccheroni family. Tony Maccheroni passed away. I know a lot of the water department guys, worked with him for many years. Great guy, will be missed. The only email I got this week was, I don't know if anyone else saw this last week, because I watched the meetings the old-fashioned way. I'm on Zoom, but the sound's been cutting in and out all week long, all those last 4 meetings. I don't know if we can just pass that along to Franklin TV. And lastly, I know we've had enough stormwater talk, but just so everyone knows, we have a stormwater hotline. Did you guys know that? Okay. Well, here's the number. It's 508-553-5500.
I think that's Brutus's cell phone.
I should have given that out.
Cat's out of the bag.
Definitely not.
Starting tomorrow morning, if there's any questions, there's your hotline. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Pellegri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too was going to mention Tony Maccheroni. He'd been here for many, many years working, and I had the pleasure of working with him when I was town clerk. Got his job done well respected by the people. Certainly was missed when he left, and I just saw him not long ago, so this was fairly a shock to me, you know, that I didn't think the end was coming. Next, I attended a wake and funeral for Nello Bassignani here in town. He was on our recreation committee and did quite a bit for the people, the sports in Franklin. He was also the go-getter for the Beavers in the back at Delcart's, because his house was right there, so he used to call me all the time and say, "They're building it again, they're building it." Well, if they build it, they'll come, right? And they did. So Nello will be sorely missed. He was a great guy. And also, he was a help to our historical museum, because his mind, he was just filled with things in town. He was an antique dealer, collector, not a dealer, a collector. So to Nello and his family, we're so sorry to see him depart. Then I just wanted to bring up something that was a well-kept secret here in town, and that was Dr. Biden attended Kevin O'Malley's funeral up at St. Mary's Church. Well, as a counselor, and I don't know if you people knew it or not, you better not shake your heads yes, because I won't be very happy if you knew it, and we didn't all know it. I was coming from the senior center up the street, and I see all of these motorcycles and that. Then I see these big black vans that were over there and all, and I still had no idea what was going on until later. It was through the coffee shop that they all knew what was going on, but we didn't, so, through the chair. Did
The
you know
chief was
about
the
it?
only one that knew.
I just,
Well, and that's fine, that's fine.
Yeah.
they're, with all due respect,
You
Well-
had to keep the secret, okay, and
yeah,
you did.
with,
Yeah, and you did, because I didn't see any Franklin cruises
With-
or anything.
they,
After the fact, after
That's-
she left,
that's-
that's
After she
when
left, yeah.
we were talking.
it's important, yeah,
Maybe we can
She-
get her back on a happier occasion.
yeah.
That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
I think she was here for, yeah, a different purpose.
She did not want anybody to know she was coming. It
And
was,
that's
you know,
okay.
she wanted to do the right thing, and there was no, you know, that's exactly why, so
Yeah,
we weren't
And
telling
that's
anybody, and
fine.
that's what they wanted it, because it was an unplanned.
but the reason too that I brought this up was the fact that she came out for Kevin O'Malley's daughter. She works in the White House, Jennifer. And for those of you who don't realize it, she has a top position. I don't even want to say what it is because I won't say it right probably. But I do know her door to her office is just 4 doors down from the Dr. Biden's office. So, I mean, they are very, very close. And I just thought it was wonderful that she took the time to come out the way she did. And
We-
that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilor Plager. Councilor Sheridan.
I just want to say happy St. Patrick's Day too, and I also like to express that I'm very happy that we're cleaning up the Charles River like Councilor Jones. I grew up along the Charles River, hearing about my grandparents and parents talking about the use of swimming, and I remember seeing all the closed beach signs, and so I'm very happy we're doing our part.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Frangillo.
Thank you. A few things. One is the next critical conversation at the school department is on social media and how that impacts our mental health. That's the 26th, March 26th at 6 at the high school. We are also, get it on your calendars early, we got the Metro West Arts and Culture Symposium. We're going to have some of the top arts and culture minds from across the state coming right here to Franklin for a half day of talking and activities. That's May 14th at the high school. We have more murals downtown, and I always love seeing us continue to expand our public art. And the last note is, as I was handed this pin, we're still thinking of our friends in Ukraine, as well as elsewhere around the world. And this came up just today. I was alerted that there's going to be a Shamrock Walk for Refugees. If you go to walkforrefugees.org, happening at the high school on Saturday. We currently have Afghan refugees living in Franklin, and our neighbors are helping them out. This is specifically for Afghan refugees. But I'm really proud of our community. It came to me because some neighbors some direct neighbors were connecting with them and helping them. They don't speak English, and so they're helping them find work and find resources and get settled. I love this community, and I'm proud of being open and welcoming to people. If as Ukrainian refugees continue, I hope we can continue to accept them and welcome them with open arms.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to briefly thank Town Minister Jamie, Helen, and Dr. Ahern for their letter that they sent to our state legislature supporting the Massachusetts Municipal Association request for more funding for Chapter 70, and I just wanted to thank them for the advocacy, constant advocacy for us. And thank everyone for joining us for the Franklin for All Forum. Don't forget to fill out the survey. Stay tuned in. There will be more things. Thank you, Chris. There will be more fun things for everybody to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kobe's point earlier about vehicles, one of the things, I don't know if anyone knew this or not, and this is a great plug for the Franklin Downtown Partnership, that if you join the Franklin Downtown Partnership and become a member, you actually get a discount on vehicles from Franklin Ford, as well as discounts on the service that you might have done in your vehicle. Plug, Franklin Downtown Partnership. As far as the trains are concerned, I am not talking about train horns. I'm not. I'm sorry. The horns save lives. I can't get into that discussion. But my next point is actually to Dr. Hearn. I already brought this up to the chairwoman of the school committee. I would love to see Davis there back on the town council's purview so that we can make our future decisions and choices and ultimately what we want to do with that school. We would love it if we could get that building back. And of course, congratulations to the Franklin Food Pantry on their closing on their new location, which is going to be at the old Edwin's building, which is in the Franklin Liquor Plaza with how do you do east or west? I'm sorry.
West.
I do west. I gotta be
Don't
specific.
confuse
So
the two.
it has to be west. I do west. Don't want to get those two confused. But that is so great. That is such an awesome adventure that the food pantry is getting into. And I will be showing my support to the build-out, as I already have a team in place to help out when it comes about. Congratulations to Executive Director and former Town Councilor Tina Powdery on all the hard work and her team that's gone into getting that.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. Thank you, Glenn. Okay, just a couple of comments. Obviously, condolences to the Maccheroni family and the Bassignani family, and thank their families for their contributions to the town. And lastly, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, one and all. Thank you,
Before
folks,
we do something
for
with Davis, I
joining
want
us
to
in
get
the
a tour.
council chambers.
Yeah.
Because
And
there's
don't
a
ever-
secret room, I told you about
don't
that?
ever bet
A gold